In recent years, more and more women have become involved in emergency medicine, where split-second decisions often mean the difference between life and death. This story is not a recreation. It's the reality of working in the EMS units and trauma centers on the front lines of medical care in Las Vegas, Nevada.
7:34 p.m. Paramedics are dispatched to a traffic accident.
We got one DOA here at this time. Let's go ahead and get the coroner responding at this location.
We got some information over the radio that this was a 3-victim accident, and one of the victims was dead at the scene.
Control 927 arrived.
In spite of all our safe driving techniques, if somebody comes through a red light with a 3, 4, 5,000 pound vehicle, he's going to get you.
Got a truck on the left as well. What kind of help you need here?
This fellow in the gold and white pickup truck came through the red light. There was no warning for the passenger of the blue vehicle. It was over instantly. He may not have even seen the vehicle coming.
I'm going to go over here and help this crew.
Paramedic Debbie Elder is treating the driver of the blue car.
What do you need, Deb?
Get some help. Okay. You have to hold him down.
Okay.
Hey, turn it around, guys.
All right.
Looking at the damage of the vehicle, which was incredibly severe.
Hi there.
There was no passenger side left. There was no back seat.
Everybody hold on to him.
All that there was a driver compartment, and that was pretty mangled.
Marcus Jackson, the 20-year-old victim who was driving the blue car, is transported to University Medical Center, where he is treated by trauma team doctor Christine Doyle.
Stop the IVs. Yeah, stop the IVs. Do not. There. Okay, it's coming right out of here.
Right out where?
Right out from the wound.
See anything, whether it's blood or an IV solution that's just salt water pouring out of something, is always a kind of scary feeling, because you don't know where it's coming from and you don't know how fast you can control it.
This does not appear to be into the chest. It appears to be into the axilla. Okay? He does go deep. He does have palpable brachial pulses and distal pulses in the arm.
Although the chest cavity was not penetrated, the paramedics made the correct assumption that it existed, even though it didn't. Sort of Murphy's Law. Treat something that can hurt you, even if it's not there.
Yeah, we need to scan him head and belly. We also probably should shoot his arch. We may want to do that first.
A CAT scan is taken of Marcus's head and chest.
Marcus's mom was expecting the worst because of what had happened at the scene.
So when you see him, it's going to be kind of scary. You understand that?
Is he still living?
He's still alive.
Thank God.
His blood pressure is
Thank
fine.
God.
His heart is working fine.
Thank God.
We're getting all these fancy x-rays, CAT scans. So far, everything looks okay. The head CT scan is fine. Marcus had seriously fractured his arm. But to be able to tell a parent or a loved one that their child or spouse is going to be all right is always a pleasant chore. It's always nice to be the bearer of good news.
Thank you.
We'll let you see him in a little bit.
She took the time to let me hold her hand and listen to me. And that was important to me, what Dr. Doyle did. Not only her medical profession, you see what I'm saying? Because that's what she's being trained to. But the woman part in her and the human part in her opened her heart to me.
You can't help but be human, and that means that you hurt for somebody. In this case, Marcus lost a friend and was seriously injured and unable to help his friend. And that always affects the patients, and it always affects us. There are times when you go off in a corner and cry. You can't not do it. There are times when you go home and you cry and you wonder what you did wrong, because you can't save everybody. And we were lucky. Marcus was lucky.
If they hadn't have been there on the scene to give their support, if it wasn't anything but to lift his hand on the stretcher or to wipe the blood away, thank God for them. Because if it wasn't for them, Marcus wouldn't have made it.
The driver of the pickup truck suffered only minor injuries. He was convicted of driving under the influence and sentenced to 12 years in prison. But nothing can ever make up for the loss of Marcus's best friend, 19-year-old Lamont Jameson, who was killed in the accident.
You don't have to be a special kind of person to be hit by a drunk driver. It can happen to anybody. When it happens close to home, that's when it really sets in. When you just sit and think about it, you be like, man, Lamont is dead, you know, and a drunk driver took his life.
Think about the person you could be killing if you choose to take on a responsibility of using drugs and alcohol and driving after you do so. Was it worth it?
When you have good friends and one dies, it's like a piece of your heart is just ripped out. And I miss him every day, every single day.
Well, we got Pete Delmar over there.
What Marcus went through changed his whole entire life.
Now I hold every day of my life precious, and I appreciate all the help the paramedics did by getting me to the hospital. That's probably why I'm here today.
Next.
His eyes were starting to roll back in his head. I knew that if I lost it, that there would be no one there to help him.